What up, people? It's your boy, Master Chudy out here with another, well, not another comic review, but a video that I might want to turn into a series. So I've been spending a couple of months watching films, doing what it needs to be done and whatnot. And I recently went on a Pixar binge, allowing me to really dissect um, each film. And I'm here to give you my rankings or put them in the tiers that I feel um, they should be put in because I feel like it needs to be done. And I am very, very excited to do this. So, let's get started. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do it in chronological order, of course, because that's how I watch them, and I always believe in doing it in that way with any type of film franchise. Obviously, a little bit of stuff like Onward is not going to be there, or Soul, because they haven't come out yet. But let's get started. Of course, first film that will be put up here as a timeless and classic is Toy Story. We all know that this is the thing that started off Pixar. It's what gave Pixar its name. And besides it being revolutionary at the time, this came out when I was 3. It's an enjoyable film. It's a great story. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. It's fun, enjoyable, and everything like that. So this will always remain not only a Pixar classic, but a Disney classic and a classic film. It'll be timeless because everybody knows Toy Story, everybody knows The Adventures of Woody, Buzz Lightyear from the first film. You know what I mean? So yeah. Now, 3 years later, we got a another film, Bug's Life. No, I gotta stop that. I would put it in as enjoyable. Obviously, this was when Pixar's like, we were pretty successful with Toy Story. Um, let's see what it do. Let's see what it does. And I've decided to go with an original story of Bug's Life. Um, I didn't watch Bug's Life in the theaters, but I got it as a VHS for Christmas, I think in 1998 when I was 6. So I watched this VHS all the time when I was a kid. And, it was a good story. You root for Flick, you root for Anna. Hopper, looking back, was a very underrated villain. It's just a simple, fun, adventure. Nothing too groundbreaking, nothing too huge, and everything like that. So it was enjoyable. I'll say that. Oh man, oh day. So let's get into 1999, where we had Toy Story 2. This is obviously the Toy Story 2 is another classic. I don't care. It was very good. This was one where the story was great. It actually beats its predecessor. Fantastic. The new character intros with Jesse and Bullseye. Um, having the toys venture outside of the home, which was revolutionary. Like, oh my gosh, you got toys, check it out, leaving suburban areas and going into major city, infiltrating stores and apartments and whatnot. It was fun. And Woody having an existential crisis about, oh my gosh, man, Andy might throw me away, and if I'm no longer good enough, if I'm no longer, fantastic and all of that stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, how? What can I say? We gotta move with that. hmm So I think that was good. But I should delete mediocre because there are many films that I wouldn't say were mediocre and not bad, but not bad. So I'll just delete that. We'll put it to 3. All right. So after that, this was the era of the 90s, basically. So we move into the next Pixar film, which was considered very interesting for its time, which was Monsters Inc., which I felt was enjoyable. I watched this in theaters with a friend of mine. Mom took me, and we watched it. It was pretty enjoyable, and I got to watch it again, actually, few weeks ago. It was the first time in like 18 years that I watched this film, and it holds up well. It's very enjoyable, and I had fun with it. I really had fun with it, and I definitely recommend it as a great film. It's a good film to watch. Really, it was nice. Um, Definitely loved the adventures of Mike and Sully, and I guess maybe Boo will grow on you because when I first watched it as a kid, I was like, oh man, this little girl, it's so annoying. But when watching it as an older, you really see her integrate, and she's a integral part of the movie. So let's move into the next aspect of this. All right. So Finding Nemo, I think, is a timeless classic. I think the opening was one of definitely Pixar's darkest moments. Definitely, I think that looking back at it, Bug's Life with Hopper's death and other actions of Hopper kind of took the deal, but it never really opened the film. Finding Nemo did, with Marlin losing, save for Nemo, all of his children and his wife, that really set the tone for the film. And, we just see everything go about its business with that. It's a fantastic film. It's a classic film. Dory out of this became quite a phenom, actually. And of course, we all know that she later got her own movie out of it. But yeah, Finding Nemo, I think, is a classic. It's definitely a classic film. So we move on to the next one, which is The Incredibles. I definitely, of course, it's a classic. I think this is I think this was Pixar's peak. You know what I mean? It was at the time, it was like, superheroes, and who doesn't love superheroes? And we were really in that era where I think before that we were introduced to, the beginning of the superhero genre. You had the X-Men 2000, you had the first Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire. Then you had Daredevil. Then you had X-Men 2. Then in 2004, you had Spider-Man as well too. So Pixar said, "Why don't we get into this superhero gig? Let's see what we can do with that and whatnot." So I thought that was pretty good, you know, and I think that it was. I think it was good for its time, definitely, and it holds up. It ages well. When I watched it, I was like, "Yeah, this is boss stuff. This is boss stuff right here." Um, I think that The Incredibles. I never watched it in theaters. I actually watched it like 4 5 years later after it came out. My sister had watched it, and she was like, it was great. And when I first time as I watched it when I was like 16 or so, I was like, wow, this is a great movie. I really liked it because I was really into the superhero bag. And 2008 was when you had that Iron Man and Incredible Hulk, so it was kind of rehyping the superhero craze again. Even though it never really died, but it kind of like upped it to the next level. So yeah, Incredibles will remain a timeless classic. So after that, you have Cars, first Cars. Now, I'd never watched Cars at all. This year was my first time I've ever watching the movie Cars. And I thought it was dumb when it first came out. I was like, man, talking cars? What? What's that about? Why? And everything like that. But after watching the first one, I was like, oh, this is not bad. It's pretty cool. I really like the racing aspects of it, because as a kid I liked racing cars, but I was never into like racing. I just liked the cars moving faster, which one could move faster, and all of that. So it was an enjoyable film, and I will have to say that out of its trilogy, I think Cars One is the best one out of the three, and that's just me. So after Cars, we got Ratatouille, which I never watched before, of course, and I think that it was a very poignant movie. It was enjoyable. Um, you know, I guess what really made it enjoyable for me was Anton Ego's closing review, which I thought was one of Pixar's best monologues in any of its movies. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. Um, it was great, yeah, and I think that definitely it was a well-made film. When I found out that Brad Bird directed this film, I was like, yeah, I can see why it's good because he did great work with The Incredibles and everything like that. So yeah, it was a fantastic film, and and everything like that. So So yeah, I would have to say that that's the thing. You know what? Oops, no. At a row above. I think I will need that mediocre but not bad because I just remembered something, which might upset a few people. But let's get back into the rankings. So when we go to Wally, I'm going to place this as a timeless classic. When this first came out, I didn't watch it in the theaters. And when I looked at the trailers on TV and the TV spots, I was like, this looks kind of lame. But when I watched it, I was like, wow, this movie really blew my mind. There were so many themes behind it. I thought that Wally and Eve wouldn't grow on me like I thought they would, but they did. And I was almost shocked. I was like, wow, you hit me with that. I'm like, dang, you really did. Mm, hmm So yeah, definitely Wally's a classic. It's a beautiful film, and I have to say that the scene with them like dancing in space was one of the most beautifully shot scenes I've ever seen in Pixar or an animated film. It was definitely hit you, and then you root for people like the captain. And I have to say that the credit ending scene is probably the best end credit scene that Pixar's ever done. The music just hit right. It was very good. You know what I mean? Very fantastic. So we'll go with Up, which is also a classic, and I don't think it needs to be explained. You know, the first 10 minutes, 20 minutes of the film, nothing is said. Actions speak louder than words, and we really get to see Ellie. I think Mr. Munns is his name. I can't remember, but the husband and his wife Ellie. You really get to see their love. Get to see them over the years. You really get hit with the realism that believe that she had a miscarriage because I don't think she was barren because that's probably something that she would have known. I think it was a little bit more tragic than that because correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I always feel that maybe a miscarriage hits a woman harder than maybe finding out that she's barren. Um, just to lose that child that you wanted to have is kind of tragic, and I think you really feel her pain. And then you feel her husband's pain when she dies, not only because she dies, but they had so many plans for their life and they could never accomplish it together in life. And to see Russell um, really grow in the man and really fill an emotional void that might have been missing since the death of his wife was very nice. And so for him to have that ending, where he pins his wife's badge on his boy for being there for him always, despite him being a grouch, was beautiful, and it really touched me like that. I think it was a well-made movie. It will remain a classic. It's one of those films you do not, will not, should not give a sequel to. Like many of these films, like Ratatouille, it's a good standalone film. Wally, fantastic standalone film. Up, standalone film, pretty nice. And Bugs Life, looking back at it, almost over 20 years later, it's a good standalone film. Keep it, keep them good. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's Up. Then we get to Toy Story 3, the best, what would have been the best trilogy in the history of film, in my opinion. Toy Story 3 was anything I've said has already been said. It was a masterpiece. It was the best Toy Story film of all time. The ending, nothing can match it in any film whatsoever. It can't be outclassed. It is too good of a film. to do anything. You know what I mean? It was great. It was nice. And and to see, Andy leaving, letting go, it really tugged at the heart, it tugs at your emotions, seeing Woody trying to, because people say, a movie's about letting go, and it's about Andy letting go of his childhood, but it's more than that. It's more of like Woody letting go of his duty that everybody tried to tell him in the movie. Sarge saying that, hey, our duty's done. We've done what we can over the years. Andy's grown up. He doesn't need us. Buzz is like, the mission is over. We've done our part. It's time to move on. And it took Woody the whole movie to realize that, you know what? I can't be selfish. I can't just go with Andy to college. I've got to be with my friends. But I also thought that my friends can't just be in the attic. It's not a fair life to them. So I got to do what I got to do. And he gave himself to Bonnie. And man, oh man, that could have been. You had it, Pixar. The perfect film. You had three classics rolled up into one. But yeah, Toy Story 3 is obviously going to be a timeless classic, in my opinion. So we move on to the next film, and this is the first bad film, Cars 2. Now, people who've been watching the Cars franchise, people like saying like, I don't know why. I don't know. People say, "Oh, Cars 2 is terrible. Cars 2 is terrible. It's horrible." And I was like, "Man, I don't know why. I don't know why." But yeah, when I watched it, I was like, "Yeah, now I know why." I mean, Mater is good in doses, doses. He didn't need to have a whole movie for him at all. But that's what he got. He got himself a whole film to himself, and you had cars like taking each other out, killing them. I'm like, first of all, that was a huge tonal shift. Yeah, we're gonna kill you. We're gonna make you explode. We got bullets, man. We're gonna murk you. Yeah, I'm like, these are just some cars that I thought they were just trying to race. Like, damn. And you know, international crime, secret agent stuff, this, and that. I'm like, this is not cars, like at all, at all. This is not cars at all. There was no need for you to sideline Lightning McQueen in a movie that's been about Lightning McQueen and to say for him to race. It would have been better to just call this Mater's Adventure, or something like that. And I feel like it wouldn't have been such a bad film if you told people what you were going to expect. But you called it Cars 2, thought that he was gonna. We thought that, oh, maybe hey, if you wanted to give Mater an increased role, which he kind of did in the first part of the second movie, hey, let him manage the pit, let him be lightening McQueen's ears, giving him his encouragement. That was good enough as maybe more screen time for Mater, but you made it so much about Mater, and then you started making him this secret agent man, and I'm like, no, 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 Pixar, you messed up on this. You messed up. Yeah. So that was bad. So we get to the next film that came out after that, Brave. And I would say it was enjoyable. I don't think it was mediocre. I thought it was, a nice story. It was definitely different. I think it delved away. This is technically Pixar's first princess film, and I really liked the chick. Really liked, it was kind of mixing in a little bit of Brother Bear in that, because the mother got turned into a bear and they try to find a way to get her back. And it's kind of her having to humble herself. But I like the fact that she was capable. I like the fact that she was, very outgoing. It felt natural because that's how she was as a child. She was working with bows as a child. Father encouraged her to shoot arrows and everything like that. And she practiced her craft and she became very good at it. And, she also lacked a little sense of discipline that her mother tried to instill in her, but her mother was kind of controlling. Um, I kind of wanted maybe more. I thought the adventure, it definitely wasn't what I expected, but it wasn't bad. I would say. I think Brave was definitely enjoyable. I definitely say if I had, knew some little girls or children or, friends of mine who had children, I said, hey man, why don't you just pop in Brave on the Blu-ray or stream it? It's pretty good. For your kids, it's a good adventure, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was definitely enjoyable. I'd give it that. Next film to come after that would be Monsters University, which I think was a very good film. I think it was a very good prequel. I watched this on the plane and I really enjoyed it. And then, of course, watching it again just proved why I really liked it. Um, it was, even though it kind of changes things about the original way Mike and Sully met, it was still good. It was still a great movie. I think it's definitely one of Pixar's underrated gems. It was definitely a good film. And I really really enjoyed it. Really liked it. I think it was fantastic and everything like that. I definitely recommend it. So, the next film to come out would have been Finding Dory, which was enjoyable. I didn't. I think it was very nice that it picked off where it left off from Finding Nemo. Um, really got me to like Dory as a character. Thought it was great, a great film, a fantastic film, and you know, ooh, excuse me. Thought it was really it really got you to like Dory, and this is where Pixar seemed to have learned from Cars 2. You didn't call this Finding Nemo 2, you called it Finding Dory, which meant that we're going to focus on Dory. And it already helped that Dory was a pretty much likable character from Finding Nemo. So making this film and calling it Finding Dory wasn't the issue. I knew, and all the quirks that you would have thought made Dory annoying, maybe in the first film, it works in the second film. And learning about her backstory, it's kind of sad, getting her reward with reuniting with her family and everything like that, was pretty fine and pretty good, and I really liked it, really enjoyed it. So that's what I would give for that. And it was a great film. I just want to say that completely. So after that, we get Inside Out. Now I am kind of conflicted about where to put Inside Out because I can say it would be a timeless classic because of the themes that it touched on. Um, you know, I would say Bing Bong's disappearance was very timeless. It was very classic, and the film really delving into issues like sadness and joy and different emotions and anger. That was pretty good. Um, but and well, still deciding. But and the center character where all the emotions are focusing on envy, sorry, disgust, caution, or is it fear, anger, sadness, and joy. Their ward or the person they represent, Riley. She was moving, and I can empathize with that because, like, when I was a kid, around her age or maybe slightly younger, I moved a lot, and I know the emotions of moving like that. It's not hard. It's not easy. It's hard to acclimatize. It's hard to move on from a place that you called home. It's hard to lose old friends and make new friends. So I think though that moving forward, I think people will actually realize this as a timeless classic. I think Inside Out is a very good film. I really liked it. I liked the ending. I like how she, saying that, my parents would tell me, when you lose somewhere, you can, remember the good, but now you have an opportunity to start over and, make new memories. And everything that's happened in my life up to that point, I've moved a lot. I've been in new areas a lot, and I remember those times. But I've made new memories with the new experiences I've had, and it's been good for me. And so I can appreciate the lesson that Inside Out tried to tell, and so that's good. Now we get to another film, The Good Dinosaur, and God, this was bad. First of all, the main dinosaur, it was way too much of a wuss and a pansy for my liking. Like, you can be afraid, but for goodness sake, you can't just lack utter backbone, which is what this character lacked until almost to the very end. And it wasn't even like he was getting braver in different levels. He was just really cowardly until the last part of the film. Uh, Having dinosaurs, and look, man, I love dinosaurs. I've watched The Land Before Times, the Jurassic Parks, you know, the I guess the other film where Guess Who's Back, where the dinosaurs are kind of like back again. That film, that animated film, I know some people know it. Um, hey man, watching Transformers, Beast Wars, Dinobot, Megatron as the Velociraptor and T Rex, respectively. Pterosaur, I love dinosaurs. I love them. I love them. This though was kind of the you turn them into like ranchers and cowboys, which I can see why, but dang man, and you have like the pops who was all story, hey son, you're going to be more than I ever was, and this and this. I'm like, oh god dang it, man. And then having like the caveman like a dog, and kind of adding elements of Old Yeller into that. I'm like, and the only thing that this movie really has going for it, and I will say this, is that there's been no Pixar film before or that will probably come after it shot as well as this movie. This is probably the best animated Pixar movie that they've ever produced, that probably will ever produce. And that is becoming a trend in Hollywood. Oh, yeah, we are going to. This movie looks so good that we hope it distracts you from the substance. Yeah, no, 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 no. You don't do that. You do not do that at all whatsoever. So we get into the next film, which is Cars 3. And I do not want to say it's mediocre. It's not. It was still not the best Cars movie. It was kind of enjoyable. I'm gonna say so. I'm gonna say it's kind of enjoyable. Um, it was enjoyable. Definitely they went back to the drawing board and like, look, man, we can't have any type of Mater's a secret agent type of thing or any type of shtick. We're going back to Lightning McQueen, and they did, and it was all about, I think about it, it had a good lesson. Like, every time and then our athletes, our favorite players, reach a stage in their career that, hey, man, we're on the decline. We can't keep doing this forever. And I thought they touched pretty well on that aspect of Lightning McQueen reaching kind of like, you know, a decline in his career. And this probably would have been better if we had seen Lightning McQueen still racing majorly, and the story was about him in Cars 2, that this would be more poignant. But we can't, we can't change what has been done. So him trying to try out new things, maybe change up his game, like many athletes do to remain on the top of their level. He was trying to do, he was trying new training methods and everything like that. And his coach, who was not a bad character, she was pretty nice. Um, was trying to help him out. And all these guys saying that, hey man, his new sponsor was like, hey man, let's force you into retirement so we can make this money. And uh, I'm like, nah. He was like, nah. I want to race. I want to be there because I still got plenty in the tank, man. I can still do it. Which he did. And for goodness sake, this movie was kind of going very well, especially when he was training with his mentors, old old people, his mentors' crew. When he was in that forest training and doing all of that, it was really good. And it was like, oh my gosh, Lightning McQueen's going to get this reward for all the new stuff. This is going to show him that I'm still on top and that an old dog can still be what he is today. Kind of like, LeBron James with the new talent coming in, like, hey man, I'm still a dog in the NBA. And same thing when even though, heck, I'm a Wizards fan and Michael Jordan was not at the top of his game, he was still schooling people. It's like, hey man, I still got game, man. I'll go out when I want to go out, which is what Lightning McQueen did. But then you went ahead and then you gave that chance to his assistant, his trainer. I think it was Ramirez. That's her name. And hey, you took away his shine, which I thought was kind of like, huh? What? Why? There was no reason for that. Now, what would have been good was that if Lightning McQueen had, let me win the race, and then says, you know what? I think it is time for me to call it quits, but I'm going to train a new person, and then I'm going to train Ramirez. Let him have it. Let him have it. No strings attached. But then again, what can I say? I would say it's the second best car movie. You have Cars 1 is the best, Cars 3, then Cars 2, and so they definitely improved that. So let's get into the next movie, Coco, which I thought was very enjoyable. Of course, this is another original story. Nothing connected to a franchise. It was very good, very fantastic. Music was on point. Really liked the story. Really learned a lot about the Day of the Dead. It was a very educational movie while being a very fun film. And there was a lot of drama. Ernesto de la Cruz killing Hector. Hector finding that he is a relative of Miguel, and just seeing the graphics are pretty nice. The colors are very vibrant, as it should be in a. It's not a musical film, um, but it's fantastic. So yeah, I definitely would give that a recommend. To the next film, we got The Incredibles 2. Now, I understand people said that, oh man, this was such a disappointment. I was so disappointed. Um, I watched this in theaters, of course, in 2018 because I was one of those people like saying, yeah, man, I've got to experience this in the theater. And I enjoyed it. I liked it really, really much. I thought that it was back to basics. And this is kind of like Incredibles is a franchise, a very good franchise. And I thought that compared to most sequels post Toy Story 3, this was kind of the best. This is kind of the best sequel so far. Nothing has compared. Nothing, it followed the trend of a good sequel. Now, watching it again a few weeks ago, I understood where people were coming from. Like um, the main villain, she wasn't as complex or maybe as interesting as Syndrome, but her motivations were not cheap. It was interesting. I thought it was very nice. I thought it was. I thought that she had a point. Maybe it was misguided, but she was very capable. I like that she was capable. I also like that they changed the family dynamic a bit. Mr. Incredible, got to stay with his family, not because he couldn't do the job. I like the explanation for it. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to replace Mr. Incredible and give it to a woman. They stated very intelligent that, look, Mr. Incredible, you're very powerful, you're very strong, and we want to ease people back into liking supers again. The only way that we could have done it is if there was a major threat to the world. And technically, we wouldn't have to do anything because there's no doubt that maybe the government or the military will say that, look, man, this is a big problem. We need big guns. Let's get Mr. Incredible or Frozen to do it. Now, they need to ease you in a smart way. And so they said, hey, let's go with Elastigirl because, and like I said, there'll be plenty of time for big problems after the perfect launch. Let's ease them in with Elastigirl. And so we got Mr. Incredible trying to, be a family man, be a father, which is something that we didn't see much of in the first film. I think people can admit that. And, I really liked when he helped Dad with math because that's what my dad used to do. He used to help me with math. He used to help me with my homework. And he did that. Woke up early in the morning, hit the books, and it was like, hey, I can do math. Hey, son, we can help you out with your homework. Let's do it. And the son, and they were just really bonded. And, and there are always going to be problems in the family. But, Mr. Incredible stepped up to that responsibility and did it. And, of course, It was very good. Jack Jack and Edna Mode. That was some. I think that was a lot more. I would have to say this movie was a lot more humorous than the first one. Obviously, because I'd say the first one was slightly more serious than the second one, and I actually look forward to where the third film will go because it's that interesting. So yeah, The Incredibles is enjoyable. It might not be a timeless classic like the first one, but it's kind of close to it. So I get to the last Pixar film, Toy Story 4. Where do you think I'm going to put this for? Where do you think I'm going to put this at? I'm going to say it's mediocre. I don't care. I don't care. It wasn't bad. It looked good. As I stated before, oh, this movie looks good. It's definitely the best animated Toy Story film. But I say it's mediocre for a couple of reasons. One, this was a film that did not need to be made. You ended it well. There are times where you just have to let it go. Frozen pun intended. In fact, Frozen 2 is out today. But you could have let it go. It ended well. We didn't need to technically see what Bonnie was up to. We had these little Halloween specials with Toy Story that came out a couple of years ago, maybe a year after the third movie or a few months after that, which was fine. A little bit of TV specials and that. That's what is good. But you wanted to make a fourth one because, like people said, we wanted to know what happened to Bo Peep, which I don't think anybody really cared what happened to Bo Peep. I mean, uh, Wheezy, well, we don't care. We didn't really need to know what happened to him. RC was saved. I mean, it was good, but we don't know where he went. And then, Edge, these strong men. What happened to the other Green Soldier men? We didn't need any of that. What happened to Bo Peep? Ambiguous, could probably be explained later on, but we didn't need to have a whole film directed after that. Second, I don't know what the directors were thinking. I don't care what happens. Like, you have all these toys. You don't single out not playing with one of them. You don't leave one in the closet, technically, and then, oh, let me forget and remove their badge, and then say, well, she forgot about Woody. No, that's some purposeful things like that. It pays me to put a Toy Story. It pays me to see that Toy Story 2, Toy Story 3 are timeless classics. This one I don't think will be a timeless classic. Maybe somebody could say it's enjoyable, but it will never be a timeless classic. The trilogy was good. You didn't need that. It was well shot. Bo Peep's character had me at times confused. I'm like, why are you so aggressive? Why? Like, you're a lost toy. What? Okay, well, how did you get there? Like, what happened with your previous owner? Well, we don't know. Why are you so abrasive against Woody? Like that. And another thing is that Woody in this film was deconstructed mentally and physically. He was stepped on, he was being neglected, he had his voice box removed, all in the name of trying to get a spork to Bonnie because he still believed in his mission, still believed in loyalty to a kid. And this toy, Sporky, is very important to Bonnie. And so, yeah, maybe I am a little bit of insecure because I don't know anything else but making a child happy. But dang, I'm going to fulfill this mission and make sure that Bonnie eases herself into kindergarten. So yeah, um, making Jessie the leader, it didn't really bug me after the end of the movie. I did feel like she kind of needed more screen time to kind of justify that. That's another thing. Most of Andy's toys didn't get screen time, which I get technically because they've had three movies and it's all been good. But man, I was very disappointed. And so yeah, that's it. Onward comes out next year. There should be Soul, which also comes out next year. I'm not really including any Pixar shorts. There are plenty of them, like Bow and the Little Lamp Junior, and then the chess game that came out with Bugs Life. I'm not gonna do that. So this is my tier. This is what I'm going through, and I'm sticking by it. And if y'all have any suggestions or differences of opinion, I would love to hear them in the comment section. Have a little debate going. See where we go from there. You know what I mean? So yeah. So thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notifications to make sure you're notified of these videos. Once again, I do videos for y'all. you, the people, because I want to, have y'all enjoy and, discuss some good stuff. You know what I mean? So, yeah, thank y'all for watching, and I hope to have more videos out when I can. Peace.